FutureCast.
This week on the Deep Leadership Podcast.
What do you want? What's going to make you happy? If you have the answer, go for it. If you don't, figure it out, because the years you're putting into your career are the years of your life.
Hi, and welcome to Deep Leadership. I'm your host, John Rennie. Well, I hope all is well with you today. It is another beautiful day here in North Carolina, and I'm enjoying a hot cup of coffee from my friends at the Salty Sailor Coffee Company. Salty Sailor is a veteran-owned coffee brand and is the official coffee of the Deep Leadership Podcast. Listeners get 10% off their amazing selection of fresh roasted coffee by going to saltysailorcoffee.com and entering the code DEEP at checkout. Today's episode is also brought to you by our other sponsors, Leader Connect, Ignite Management Services, and Liberty Strength. All these sponsors help me bring these shows to you each and every week, so I highly encourage you to click on their links below and check them out. Now, in this episode of the Deep Leadership Podcast, I'm joined by Randi Roberts. Randi is an executive and career life coach and the president of Randi Roberts Coaching. She is also the founder of Fulfilling Career, Happy Life Community. We sat down and discussed how to proactively manage your career to achieve fulfillment and satisfaction without compromising your personal values. Now, if you've ever felt stuck in your job or career and you've been trying to figure out what to do next, you're going to love this episode. So, are you ready to dive in? Let's get started.
Welcome to Deep Leadership. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former Cold War submarine officer who spent 20 plus years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Are you ready for some real-world actionable advice from John as well as his expert guests?
I'm ready.
The show starts right now.
Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Randi Roberts. Randi is president of Randi Roberts Coaching and founder of the Fulfilling Career, Happy Life Community. She is an executive and career life coach, helping people learn to love their work as they achieve their career goals. Before becoming a certified coach, Randi had a successful 30-plus year career as a pharmaceutical executive, working for both large companies and a small startup. Randi loves helping professionals become re-engaged by their work and attain career fulfillment without compromising what matters to them most. I'm excited to have her on the show to talk about what it takes to proactively manage your career. So, Randi, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, John. I'm really glad to be here.
It is great to meet you, and I love talking about career and career decisions because I think we have a lot of leaders that listen in on this, and they're making decisions throughout their whole lives as to, am I doing what I've been put on earth to do? Should I be going to a different job or a different role or a different company? So I think this is a really important discussion for leaders. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about career decisions. What do you think people miss when they are making a decision on their career?
It's going to sound funny, but I think sometimes they miss taking into account what they really want. Because my first career was 30 years in the pharma industry. So very well-defined career paths, excellent opportunities for career growth and all of that. But sometimes it's almost as though you're being told what you should do. And you get on the track and you follow it and, hopefully you do well. But you got to remember to check in on what you want and what lights you up, because as you're working the plan, these are years of your life. And every one of them is too precious to just go according to what someone else defined for you. So that's what I think people miss sometimes is, what do you want?
It's interesting you say that, because I spent 22 years in corporate, and again, as my wife used to say, they dragged me kicking and screaming up the corporate ladder. Like, I kept getting promotions, kept getting more and more responsibility, and then I ended up not doing what I loved. Like, I loved turning around manufacturing plants, like individual manufacturing plants, where there was 300 people or less, and I loved that. That was where my joy came from. But when I got to multiple plants and lots of responsibilities, I spent all my day in conference rooms
and doing PowerPoint presentations. And that wasn't my joy. I did not find joy in that. So I think you're right, is what lights you up? What gets you excited? What motivates you? I think we think, like you say, we chase like the title maybe, or, the
money.
This is the path. This is the money. This is where, but it, for me at least, I realized I wasn't enjoying the growth or moving up the corporate ladder.
Yeah. I mean, I relate very much to what you're saying, John, because for me, like the reason that I loved pharmaceuticals is because the good that we did for patients, right? Mm. That's really important to me, is to do some good. It's a real driver for me. But when you get so internally focused, which often happens when you move up the ladder, especially in a big organization, you can lose touch with the thing that lights you up. Mm. And that was why I got out of corporate. I mean, there were some personal things too, but for the most part, I was one of those people that jumped out of bed every morning. I couldn't wait to get to work. I loved it until one day I didn't. Mm. And I realized I just was doing things that exhausted me when they used to excite me. So you got to pay attention to those signals.
I hear this term Sunday scaries that people have, like Sunday night, they're getting ready to go back to work, and they've got like, they have anxiety and they're anxious. And I would say that's probably a good sign if you're having the Sunday scaries, that maybe you might not be doing what lights you up on Monday morning.
I haven't heard it called the Sunday scaries, but it is such a huge presence for me, huge awareness. And I know that a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, and I think they may relate to this. So all the years I was in school, all the years I was in corporate, you got the Sunday scaries. In fact, my husband used to know Sunday afternoon, I was going to start getting wound up again. Yeah. Because you don't know what's coming on Monday. So fast forward to my career now, where I run my own business. I don't have clients on Mondays. Mm. Monday is my office day. So I can enjoy Sunday up until the time I put my head on the pillow Sunday night, because I know I have time to deal with things on Monday. I mean, I'm in control, so I'm taking advantage of that. Now, the nature of my work is different. I don't know that I'd have the Sunday scaries anyway, but I think a lot of the entrepreneurs who listen to your show can probably relate to that. Recognize what that impact is for you and take control of it and change it when you're a little bit more in control of your own world. I talk to clients about that kind of thing a lot.
I love that. So yeah, organize your day, organize your week where you're going to be most effective. I love that idea. It's a great concept. I know listeners have heard me say this before. I'm most creative from 4 a.m. till noon. That's where I do my creative work. And anything after lunch is grunt work. So it's filling out forms. It's, doing the basic, doing spreadsheets and walking around the shop, because I'm just not creative. So I do grunt work in the afternoons. And I think create a week and create a day that you're going to be very successful based on how your body works, how your mind works. And I think that's really powerful advice. Yeah, I like that.
What you're saying is important. My guess is that shift for you has increased your efficiency. I mean, you probably save yourself at least an hour a day of wasting time and taking too long to do things. That's great.
Yeah. I think you become more efficient if you find your sweet spot and operate in that sweet spot as much as you can. Yeah. So give us a sense of things. What's one thing that we could do that would make a big difference in helping us be more fulfilled in our jobs and our careers? What are some thoughts on that?
I think it's important throughout our careers. Like we may do some planning in the beginning of who are we? What are our driving values at this point? What do we want to be doing? Those things change in different seasons of our lives, different phases of our lives, different levels of achievement in your career, perhaps. So it's important to stay close to that. And every couple of years or so, check back in with what are those values that are driving you? What are your priorities in your life? I think those things, you may change, your situation may change, stay close to that. I also think that it's really valuable for people to know what are the things that give them satisfaction in their work and what are the things that are missing. Mm. And so there's certain, career satisfaction pillars, I call them. And I worked with so many clients on these things that I identified a quick assessment that people can use. 8 different pillars that they can take a look at. If they're feeling like the work that I used to be really excited by isn't doing it for me anymore, this kind of thought process can be a good place to start. So, for example, you just dig in on how satisfied are you on the growth scale? Are you growing to the degree that you need to? Have you plateaued? Do you need a greater stretch? That kind of thing. So there's a number of them that you can look at. It's a great self-driven tool to start with. And it can really help you to identify what are the things that you want to, that you need to change for, that you need to fix, if you will. And what are the things you want to preserve that are really working for you? Because whether you're making changes where you are or potentially looking for a new job, then you know what problem you're trying to solve. And you know what to look for, you know what to hold on to. You make sure you're fixing the right thing.
So this is where I get a sense of where you're proactively managing your career. In other words, you're not just going where the wind's blowing. You're actually thinking about, okay, what is it that gives me satisfaction? What's missing? What really fires me up? What lights me up? And making sure that you've done that assessment. And like you said, people change. But I would also think that organizations change too. Like you could love your job and love what you do, but over time, an organization might shift. Like I belonged to a company that was that gave us a lot of independence as general managers. And so we had a lot of authority and responsibility, but over time they stripped that authority from us. And so it was sort of became more of a top-down kind of company. And that's where I realized that, I hadn't changed, but the company had changed. And the new way that they ran the company didn't fit with my value set. And so it was one of those things that, through these evaluations, I'm like, I don't like being here where I'm being micromanaged now. I used to love when I had a lot more independence. And so I think the other thing is that I guess companies change as well, too.
They do. And it's really important. Like sometimes that can sneak up on you.
Yes.
And it's important to know about ourselves. It's, a lot of the people that listen to your show are leaders. So they're creating that environment for their people. They have the same kinds of reactions. So I think that's really important to keep an eye on that change. Something that sometimes can be a little bit more subtle is maybe the company doesn't change a lot, but something feels different because if you're motivated by a stretch, say you're put into a job that it might even be your dream job, 2 years into it, you might have, I don't know if mastered is the right word, but you've plateaued, you've got it, you know how to do the job. Mm-hmm. That growth stretch piece may be missing. So the company may not have changed, the job may not have changed. What may have changed is that you've grown into it and you need to move into something that stretches you again.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I think we get into a comfort spot, right? Where we've done a job a while, we're considered now an expert in it, we're good at what we do, we have a reputation of being good. So I think, at least for me, I could fall into a comfort zone of like, okay, well, maybe I'm not really stretching myself, but I'm making decent money, I'm comfortable. But I think good people want to be challenged. And I think that sometimes it's hard for us to say, well, if I go do something else, that'll be harder. I don't know if I'll be successful. Maybe I'll just stay here. And I think we're afraid to change because we're comfortable. Do you see that as well, too? Is that comfort we lull ourselves into a sense of comfort that we may not be in the perfect job, or, it's a good situation,
I think it's a really good point. I see that a lot. And the thing is, like, I don't want to discount that feeling of, I have a good job, I have some security here, I'm golden handcuffs even, maybe, whatever the situation. There's a lot of financial reasons for me to stay. That's real. Like, you need to know what the drivers are. If you are the person that supports your family, provides the benefits, depending on where you are in your life, if you've got kids about to go to college, all those things, being in a job that feels secure and pays well is of value. Mm. However, if you're needing a stretch, like, you may make all those rational decisions to stay, but you're still feeling like you need that stretch. Maybe there's a way to get that right where you are. Maybe you talk to your boss and you take on a new project. You identify a new product line your company could launch. You take on mentoring others. Like, there are things you can do that would bring you joy and that would grow you, that may enable you to stay right where you are with all the things that do work for you and still, get that I'm jumping out of bed every morning before the alarm to run to work feeling. So that's why it's so important to understand what the issue is.
I like that. So essentially you're saying if you're not really charged up by what you're doing in your job, there's other ways to get that through your current job without switching jobs and switching companies, right? You're saying there are ways to do that.
Oftentimes there are. Now, there are situations, if there's a really toxic work environment that's impacting your mental health, if you're asked to cross ethical lines, like those are situations where you may need to just walk. But for the most part, if you can take some time to dig into what's going on, you might be able to fix it right where you are. And even if you decide you can't, you are better prepared, you know what to look for, and you're doing it on your own time frame. So, that stretch, that energy you have to put into that growth mode could go to a search if you feel that that's what that's what the right thing to do. So there's no one answer. It's, no perfect answer. It's finding out the answer that's perfect for you.
Yeah. And that means taking the time to do the assessment, taking the time to think through what really motivates you, what you really, what lights you up and what makes you, excited to get out of bed and on Monday morning. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And John, something you said before about this is thinking about it and being sort of proactive about planning your career rather than, if you're someone who sort of goes where the wind blows you, I think was the term you used. But I would advocate it's good to do this work either way, because if you know what you need, if you know what's the best situation for you, you're in the best position to then see which way the wind blows, be opportunistic. And if something comes to you, you know whether to say yes or no.
Yeah. It's interesting you said, because like for example, I kind of knew early on when I left the military and I went into the corporate world, I really got excited about manufacturing operations and leading a manufacturing plant. And I thought to myself, well, that would be something I'd want to do. And so, but the wind blew a little bit and I became like a quality manager. Then I became, the engineering manager. Then I became an operations manager. Then I got my first plant. But so I let the wind blow, but it was sort of in the general direction towards plant management, which is what I really wanted to do. So, but I think I got myself some cross-functional responsibilities, learned a lot about the people and the business and the products, so that when, the first plant management opportunity came up, I was kind of ready for it. Like I was the guy that was the one that was best suited for the role. Yeah. So I think the wind can blow you a little around as long as you sort of have a general direction where you're headed. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great plan. And I love that example. I mean, kind of the way I think about it is a lot of times clients will come to me with that, something's not right anymore and I'm not sure what it is. And then sometimes what we need to do is work to, like the way I think about it, choose your major almost, or pick your lane. Yeah. That doesn't mean pick your job. That means pick the direction, like what are the boundaries that you're choosing? And then you can see what happens within there. And the example you gave of your own experience, you took some what sound like lateral moves, broadening your experience, getting you ready. And if one of those had really lit you up along the way, it might have taken you in a different direction for all the right reasons.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
As a leader, you're responsible for the mission and the people assigned to you. Regardless of the size of your team, employees are depending on you for their lives and careers. For the sake of your team and the people who entrust you with this role, you need to master the skills to become a great leader. Best-selling leadership author John Rennie is proud to introduce the Qualified Leadership book series. This new series teaches you how to become a people-centered leader. Great leaders know that employees who are respected, appreciated, and allowed to grow will go the extra mile. These books provide real-world leadership wisdom written from a hands-on perspective. If you want to be a more effective leader, this is the one book series you should read this year. This 3-book series contains the following best-selling leadership books: I Have the Watch, You Have the Watch, and All in the Same Boat for one low price of $39.99. Begin your journey to become a leader worth following. Go to johnsrennie.com and get your order in today.
This episode is brought to you by Leader Connect, a a leadership training company and video platform founded by the leadership book author and Deep Leadership Podcast guest, Neil Jerd. Leader Connect is a video and podcast streaming platform for leaders and teams. Watch it alone or as a team, and each video supports you and your team, allowing you to improve performance and build a great culture. Join hundreds of experts and learn about leadership, planning, public speaking, team building, mindfulness, and a range of other subjects that will help you lead well and build a great team. I'm proud to say that I'm one of the experts on this platform. Leader Connect is offering a 10% discount to all Deep Leadership listeners. Go to leader-connect.co.uk and enter the code DEEP at checkout. Master your leadership with Leader Connect.
This episode is brought to you by Ignite Management Services. Ignite is led by Mike Watson, who you might remember from episode 137. Mike and his team believe that everything starts with leadership, whether it's strategy execution or cultural transformation. It's the role of the leader to create the conditions for their people to succeed. The team at Ignite can help you develop critical habits to enhance your leadership capability and transform your business. Ignite Management is now offering the Resilient Leadership Assessment Tool. This is an online questionnaire designed to assess and guide leadership development, coaching, and team building. It provides leaders an opportunity to gain insights into their leadership strengths and development needs. After taking this assessment, you will receive a custom, detailed report that provides practical and actionable recommendations to enhance your effectiveness. I have taken this assessment myself and found it to be extremely valuable in helping me make changes to my leadership approach. Right now, Ignite is offering 15% off the price of this tool to the Deep Leadership audience. Go to ignitemanagement.ca and enter the code START15 at checkout to get started today. It's like children, when they're younger, let them try a bunch of sports, and then suddenly there's one that they either love or they're really good at or they want to do more and more. So I always believe when my children were younger, give them opportunities to try things, and then whatever sticks or whatever they're, gets them going. Well, that's the thing that they focused on. Both my boys did that in their growing up, as they both found something that really got them excited.
And along the way, you learn a lot. If there's a sport that didn't work, well, maybe team sports are better than individual sports for your kid, or the other way around. Like, if you're looking at all these experiences, even the ones that didn't work, maybe especially the ones that didn't work, there's so much to be learned.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. So we talked about this. So people who are feeling unmotivated. So you're in the job, you've been in the job for a while, you're just not feeling it anymore. So how do you do that assessment? How do you have an objective view on, like, why am I not feeling it anymore? Why am I unmotivated? How do you figure that out objectively?
Yeah. I mean, that the career satisfaction assessment that's available on my website is one way to go. And I tried to develop that for exactly that reason, to be objective. I think another approach that people can take is to think back on a time that was, that they were excited, that they were, part of a team that was building something, or whatever it was that was giving them energy. If you ask people, like, what was their best job, what was their happiest time, they will think of it. They'll have an example for you. And so a lot of times you can break down, what was it about that situation that allowed me to feel that way, that provided me, that opportunity for success, whatever it is. And you can break it down that way. And then sometimes you can look at, what was that situation? What's my current situation? And what are the gaps? Now, that doesn't always give you the answer, because the situation you described that was so wonderful may have been 10 years ago. Yeah. So you may have changed a lot. You have to factor that in. If you're really lucky, it was more recent than that, and you can really pull some information out of that. It can give you some good direction.
Yeah, I do like that. What you said was, like, thinking back in your career, like, what was it about those jobs that you remember in a good way, and then kind of trying to unpack it. Why was that? And I know for me, as I kind of moved up in corporate, I wasn't as excited as I was when I was running smaller plants, because I realized that what the energy I got from walking the shop floor, talking with employees, seeing changes happening every day, watching the metrics and seeing the numbers get better and seeing customers being happy. Like there was so much energy in that. And then I realized my life now was I had people working for me doing the fun stuff. And I was doing reports to corporate. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. That's not what brings me joy, But I think it was, it's similar to that. Like, I thought about like, why am I not enjoying this job? Was like, I have people doing the things that I love doing, and that was where I realized that I probably need to get back to a smaller business, a smaller manufacturing business. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes courage to look at that because you may have worked a long time to get to that level and then recognizing it's not making you happy. Like the thought of doing something different, taking a quote step back is something that a lot of people can't accept. I love the way you just said that, which is you had to step into a different lane in a way, get out of the big company environment. I came from big companies too. I love it, but there's so many people, there's so many resources. Yeah. People get a little bit more siloed, where if you're in a smaller company, you get to wear more hats. You get to roll up your sleeves and do more things, which is not for everybody, but like you, I find that really exciting.
I do too. I mean, I'm back to my sweet spot again. This is where my energy is where I'm running a small manufacturing plant. I love doing it. This is what I love to do. So yeah, when you get back to that, and it took me, going all the way up the corporate ladder to realize I didn't want to be on the top rung. I wanted to be back running the plants again. And so that's why I started my own company to actually do what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I think that's good. And so how do we, I was just thinking through that, how, one of the things that I struggled with was when I got out of the military, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I had a deep passion for what I did in the military, but I didn't really have a deep passion for corporate life. Like I didn't have something that was my North Star, that this is really what I wanted to do. And listeners have heard me say this before. It took me about 7 years to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life after the military. How can people figure out what they want in the long term? How do they find their North Star? How do they find, what it is that really excites them and energizes them? Is there a process for that, or what should they be thinking about?
To be honest with you, I think there's a lot of processes for that, some of which are very complicated. And I think sometimes it doesn't have to be that complicated. I think the lucky few are sort of born knowing the answer to that question, but they don't always stick with that either. Sometimes they change their minds. I think it's important, like this self-awareness piece is so critical. Knowing, take yourself out of your job. Look at your life because it's all your life. Your work, your home, it's all your life. Take a look at what are the things that you gravitate towards. What are the things that make you want to do more of? That make time pass quickly rather than dragging on. Like, what are those things for you? And then, you can start to sort of build that scaffold of what do you need. Like, I know for me personally, I have always needed to do some good while I'm doing well. Like I need both things. I need to know my work has meaning and I need to have security based on the way I was raised and things. Security is very important to me. I need both. Now, how I have satisfied that doing good has changed at different points in my life and different phases and things. But, in my pharma career, it was the good we did for patients. I loved that. Now, as an executive coach and working in leadership development, the good that I do is helping other people achieve their goals. So I'm scratching that itch in a different way. It's the same itch. Yeah. So it takes some work. It takes some self-awareness. It can take some courage to figure that out for yourself. But those are some places to start. Think about the things that give you energy, that light you up, that you want to do more of. And you'd be surprised how you can build the framework from there. The thing that I will say, though, is it's very difficult for most people to sit and do that on their own. It is magic when you just talk it through with somebody else, a friend, a spouse, a mentor, a coach, whoever. Talking those things out. There are times when I have a client come to see me and I will feel like, oh, we're getting close to time. And I think I've said 4 words. And they will say to me, Randi, that was amazing. You helped me so much. All I did was give them the space to process it out loud and to work it through. Okay, maybe I said more than 4 words, but they did the work. So I really encourage people, don't sit at your desk with, a document open on your computer or whatever. Work it out with another person. Say the things out loud. It's amazing where that can take you.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Find somebody, and you don't want to find the person that's, it's funny because, people who have our best interests in mind don't want to see us fail. So they're likely to say, don't do that. You're really good at this. Don't do this because you have a chance to fail. And so you have to find the right person, that's willing to, that you have that kind of dialogue with.
Yeah.
Because there may be like family members that say, oh, no, don't start your own business. 90% of small businesses fail. Don't ever do that. And it's like, well, then maybe so you got to find the right person to have that dialogue with that can say, well, what are the pros and cons? What have you thought this thing through? Someone that can be really objective with that conversation.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is so important. And, it's interesting because the people that we may choose to go to like that have an agenda, which might be protecting you, which might be just wanting you to be happy, whatever that is, rather than just focusing so much through us. So you do, like, for example, my sister is one of the people I'm closest to in the world. She is such a cheerleader for me. She can't see when I might be doing something wrong. Everything I do is great.
Yeah.
That's not always helpful for me as much as I love it.
Yeah.
So you do have to know. And it's one of the reasons, like, I used to hold back on this because it felt self-serving, but a coach is a great answer for a lot of people because our jobs as coaches is to just be where you need to be. Point the things out for you that you might need to be thinking about, but not guide you in a different direction or make a decision for you. And, I have a coach, and the reason I am a coach is because I know how important that's been to me in my career. So find somebody, that has your agenda, or no agenda even, that can help you through those things.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time on the show. Yeah, find a mentor, find a coach, find someone that is can be objective and help you to think through your challenges in your life and your career. So I do agree with that, and it is a little self-serving, but I do highly encourage it. So I know for me, like when I'm dealing with with a mentor or a client. I get them to think. It's for me, it's always about more questions than I have comments. I have questions, and I let them think through this and think through their and help them reach the conclusions, on their own. And I think that's part of our job as guides through that.
It is.
So, yeah.
It is. And it's one of the things that I really had to learn when I went from being a corporate executive convinced of my own importance and rightness and all of that to being a coach. It's not about me telling people what to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Help and guide. Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned, I was looking through some of your work. You mentioned this having like a business approach to managing your career. So I was trying to think of, when I think of a business approach is, you have a business plan, you say, okay, let's start planning. This is our 5-year plan or 10-year plan. So is that what I'm thinking? Is a business approach to your career? Is that what it looks like?
It does. And I think, thinking about it as a business plan, a strategic plan for your family, for your career, whatever works, is a great idea because it is a way of defining your own North Star. Another way that I sort of apply business principles, I can't help myself. I was in the business world for so long. I have an MBA, and now I run my own business. I view everything through a lens of a P&L. Like our resources are fixed. It might be our money. It's definitely our time. What are the things that you are going to invest in certain areas, and what are you going to get back from it? So, at the beginning of the year, I look ahead to what do I want my year to look like? What do I want to feel like? Where do I want to be putting my time? And I can make investment decisions that way. And I talk to clients about that a lot. I had a meeting with a client today she's an entrepreneur. She runs a very successful small consulting shop. And the thing that I always talk to her about is, are you making what you invest in coaching, in what you pay me and your time, are you getting enough of a return from that? Are you getting enough of a return on that investment? And, there are some people that wouldn't put that in her. We have that conversation quarterly because it's an investment that she makes for her business. She needs to be expecting a return. And I think about it that way, like the time you might invest in continuing education, the money you might invest in a new business tool or things like that. You have to look at everything through an ROI framework in order to have a successful business. So career's the same.
I love it. That's such a great piece of advice. I love that. And the listeners, I hope you took that to note. Treat your career like a business. Look at ROI. Look at your investments. Yeah, fantastic. Randy, what final message would you like to leave with our listeners about their careers and about career management or anything else we've talked about?
I think just to maybe go back to where we started, which is, what do you want? What's going to make you happy? If you have the answer, go for it. If you don't, figure it out, because the years you're putting into your career are the years of your life, and they're not guaranteed. We don't know how many more we have. So do what you love.
I love that. Do what you love. And as you say in your career, you wanted to do you wanted to help people, but you also want to make sure you had security. So do what you love in a way that pays you money, that you can take care of things.
And I firmly believe if you're doing what you love, you will be better at it. More money will come to you.
Oh, exactly. So if you're good at what you do and you love at what you do, you're going to make money doing it, for sure. Absolutely. This is fantastic. Randi, how can people learn more about you and your services, your company? How can they find out more about you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The best two ways to reach me are through my website, which is randirobertscoaching.com. It's Randy with an I, and I know you'll put the link in the show notes. So Randi Roberts Coaching, you can find that career satisfaction assessment that I mentioned. It's free under the resource section. You can find my Fulfilling Career Happy Life podcast and things there too. And then on YouTube, my own podcast and show are called Fulfilling Career Happy Life.
Fantastic. Now we're going to go ahead and put links in the show notes for all of Randi's resources. And one of the most important ones that we talked about here is that career satisfaction assessment. I highly encourage, obviously explore all of Randi's resources, and we'll put links in there for all that, including her podcast and YouTube. But I think that if you're looking for a place to start, if maybe you're stuck and you're hearing this and you're saying, wow, this really makes sense, where do I even start? That would be a great place to begin. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes right at the top so you can see that and you get an opportunity to try that, because again, it's a free resource that can help really steer you in the right direction for your career. And so I highly encourage that. Again, what Randi said is very powerful. Your days are limited. Your hours are limited. Don't spend your days doing what you hate. Spend your days doing what really excites you and energizes you, and make sure you manage your career like a business. And I think you're going to be a lot more successful than if you just let the winds have you float all over in the world. So, Randi, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I learned a lot, and you really explained it to where it really makes a lot of sense for me, and I know it will for our listeners as well. So I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your message.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you again. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Randi saying take care and lead well.
Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, please visit our website at www.deepleadershippodcast.com or johnsrennie.com. Until next time, take care.
Hey guys, it's Miriam Love here, and I want to share something very special with you. Check out my new release, All In, the Spanish remixes, out now on Electric House Records. And always remember, be love, share love, all love.
Available now wherever you listen to music.
there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baclaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electric Cat production.
See you there.
Electric Cat.